Hello and welcome to Coffee with Dr. Carla. I'm Dr. Carla, this is Marty, and we are so glad that you're here with us. Today our goal is to talk about some different mental health related issues and hopefully begin to end the stigma surrounding them. So I think one of the things that many people don't realize about ADD and ADHD is the issue of emotional regulation and how the diagnosis, whether you actually have a diagnosis or not, but if that's the way your brain operates, and this emotional regulation, I don't think most people would think that the two have anything to do with each other, right? So, I mean, and this is something that you and I have talked about in the past, but, so kind of give us a bit of a glimpse into how you've discovered these things connect.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when I found out and when I was diagnosed with ADHD, I, did a lot of research of my own to just find out what is it about it, how does my brain work, understanding, what, I had a certain image in my head of what it was.
What was that image?
It was a kid running around with his head on fire. And to be very honest,
yeah, that's the stereotypical image. The kid bouncing off the wall.
That's it.
Literally.
That is it. And so, when I started to put it together, I was like, well, that's not me. I don't bounce off the walls. I'm very active, and I always knew that. But what I didn't realize was there's other things that happen with that, right? And so, there was many times, especially as a teenager, and then as I started to get in my early 20s, where there was a long time I actually thought I had anger issues and thought I needed anger management, and was very concerned about that at some point. Tried to do a lot of just journaling on my own and self-thought, and interestingly enough, as I go back and read some of those journals, I'm like, wow, these are telltale signs in there. Knowing, hindsight is what it is.
So when you said that you thought you might need anger management, are you like, where it was getting you in big trouble?
Yeah.
Okay, right, right? Because sometimes people think, I need to control my anger, and it's not, but it actually got you into some hot water.
Yeah, so I was never, I was notorious for hitting things, right? Not inanimate objects, right? Like walls or a door or concrete or whatever it may be, right? It wasn't. So I was expelling these moments in a very unhealthy manner.
Gotcha.
And at the time it was that's just how I processed anger, or that's just how I processed my emotion.
I mean, it could have been,
and it very well was, but it wasn't healthy, right? It wasn't in a good way. I very often be in a conversation, and I would, it would go from 0 to 60 real quick, where I could be level-headed, but then, something would set me off, and I would it would ruin the rest of the conversation for me. It'd take me a while to get out of this place. And really where I started to notice it was I was in a previous relationship, and, there would be times where we would argue and fight, and it would just build up so much that you just didn't know what to do with it, right? And so, and again, it was just always so at that point it was, I had to remove myself from the situation and try to walk away and let myself just calm down. And even after that, it was still there. It was still
hard to let go.
Yeah, it was still this itch or this, this feeling I had where it was like everything is in me. I don't know what to do with it. Again, as I was
jumping out of your skin.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly.
I hear people describe that sensation all the time.
Yeah, and it was just I felt like I was crawling with it. I didn't know what to do with it.
Okay.
And so as and not to say that again that the diagnosis was a flip switch for me, but it did help me realize that the chemical reaction behind it all. That was really what I was interested in learning that, when I'm starting to feel that way, finding coping mechanisms to get through those feelings.
Right. So this is just, so, the label, right, allowed you to identify what was really going on, as opposed to thinking that somehow you were broken and or flawed in some particular way. Right. So then you could put the focus where it really needed to be. Right.
Yep.
So that's, yeah,
That was
so important.
And that was a great way to put it, because I did feel broken for a long time of just like understanding why was I reacting this way? Others weren't reacting this way. I distinctly remember being, in college once, and at one point we're having a party and people were there, and somebody made me mad, and like I bubbled it up so much. I tried to eat as much as I could, and I remember I like had a drink in my hand, and I went to put it down, and as I did, I put it right through a glass coffee table.
Wow.
Because I just had all of this in me, didn't know what to do with it. And so, as obviously, as you get older, you start to learn how to deal with these feelings.
We hope. Yeah.
And really, at the time, I wasn't actively looking for the solution, but found through ways of coping and through medication and through other methods, was finding that that started to dissipate. I wasn't getting those feelings anymore. I wasn't having the feeling like I need to punch something, or like I was, my friends used to call me Gorilla Man with it, right? Because I would stamp my feet really loud, or whatever that release was. He started to, kind of help with the feelings, and I can calm down. And not to say that they don't come back from time to time, but when they do, I know exactly what I need to do to manage it. Maybe it's removing myself from a situation. Some cases it's asking if I'm in a conversation that becomes an argument, asking the other person if we could take a 5-minute break and say that, not that this isn't an important thing, but we need to take a break so that we both can come back to it with a level head. In even with it, luckily I didn't do it much at work settings, but like there was those feelings come up, and
right. So it's not like it only happens one place, right?
Right, exactly. So it happened a lot of places.
Well, and I also imagine that, once you recognize kind of the inner workings of this and why it happened, right? Then you could do things to keep yourself more grounded on a regular basis, right? So if you start the day, in a more balanced place, it's easier to not lose your cool, right? And so if you kind of build that practice in, eventually it doesn't prevent it, but you can at least keep it in a more even keel, so that you don't have these big spikes that's happening, right?
That's it. You were just looking to keep a consistency there, right? And not to say that I don't get angry or upset, but at least
it's a valid emotion, right?
Yeah, it is. And so, but I feel like now, at least when I feel that happening, I can explain, hey, I'm getting upset or I'm getting angry right now. And again, can we resurface this, or can we change the conversation for a minute, or just validating that, like, I'm having a feeling, but that also what we're talking about is valid, and I want to come back to it. But if we don't, it could potentially change, change an outcome.
Well, and if these relationships are really important, and you're important to them, and vice versa, then they're going to be willing to take those breaks, right?
Yep.
No,
that's exactly it. And so, I've learned, I've done a lot of like meditation, a lot of yoga that has helped. I used to be a runner, and that would help me just kind of calm my mind down. So I found through like physical activity has helped with that, amongst numerous different, things that come with being, having ADHD or ADD. But in general, those have really just kind of at least helped calm my mind to process things a little slower. Or also just let things, kind of, if it's happening, you just learn to take the breath and kind of process yourself through it, or know that feeling's coming in the mornings. If I'm grouchy, if someone, used to poke me a lot when I was a kid, right? If I was angry in the morning, and knowing now that, well, if I am, say something. Hey, just give me a few moments to get myself together, right? And that may seem obvious, but it wasn't.
Right. I mean, just to have some insight into what's going on.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing that, because I don't know that many people would, want to readily admit that they had difficulty regulating their emotions. But the reality of it is, it's a big part of this diagnosis. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So remember, you can change your thoughts, discover your potential, and transform your life by focusing on your overall well-being. So until next time, continue working on being the best you possible. Bye.